Hi, this is John Barnes, and you're listening to Kop On.
Welcome to Kop On Podcast, you beautifully fried and perfectly crispy guanciale. If you don't know what guanciale is, then you've never really had a true carbonara. Here in France, they make it with something called lardon, which translates to bacon bits, which sort of sums up the difference in beauty between English and French. Lardon, or bacon bits. You know, I don't know which language you prefer, but I know which one I do. But that's just aesthetics. Let's get into the taste of a real carbonara. You need guanciale, which is an Italian cheek. It's the cheek of the pig that's been cured in particular spices. And you never add creme fraiche like they do in France. That's immediately discounted. You just need the eggs, you need the pasta, preferably a long one like, spaghetti, for example, classic. But you need the guanciale and the eggs. You use the yolk of the eggs and the Parmesan cheese, or even better, the name escapes me for some reason. Good Lord, I'll have to Google it. But the one that they use in Rome is the one that sort of smells like, it smells very strong, and people use a mix of that and Parmesan, or just the one that I've forgotten, but I'm going to look up. I don't know, it's just a momentary lapse of memory. But this is a real guanciale, is that the fat of the guanciale, this that you need to cook for a long time, and so that the fat renders out, that will cook the yolk in the pasta to make a sort of creamy sauce. Once everything's cooked, you put it together. It's very, very simple. You cannot have more than those ingredients. If you do, then you are immediately excluded from any Italian carbonara Christmas card list. So welcome to Kop On Podcast. I'm delighted to be joined by Nigel and by Brian and by a very special guest today, Andrew Beasley. Not that Nigel and Brian aren't special, because of course you are too, guys. But Andrew Beasley from AndrewBeasleyFootball.com, which is an absolutely splendid site. You've been on Kop On before. Welcome back, Andrew. First, I would like to get your, I don't know, let's talk about transfers, because the window slammed shut yesterday. What's your overall take on how perfect the window was?
Hello, everyone. I don't think it was a perfect window, in the sense that I think Liverpool have only got 4 forwards that Arne would be willing to start in a big game in the league or in the Champions League. And I think they needed an experienced central defender rather than just the young lad that they brought in from Italy. So I wouldn't call it a perfect window. At the same time, you have to be incredibly excited that Liverpool have made the 3 costliest signings that any club anywhere in the world has made this summer. Not just the first, not just the second, not just the third, all 3 of them. I mean, I'm going to assume unprecedented. It certainly feels like a long time since Liverpool have had anything like this kind of summer. When you look back, the famous front 3 was built, one coming in one summer after the other, and here they've basically rebuilt the attack, Ekitike, Isak and Wirtz, all in one go, essentially. And there's going to be a sort of cost of that, of bedding in all these players at the same time. They're unlikely to be too fluent straight away, and we've seen that already in the games that have been played. But yeah, you have to say it's a really exciting summer for Liverpool, and even if it's not perfect, I think it's beyond the sort of wildest dreams that any fan would have had at the end of last season.
Excellent answer, and we will talk about each player as we go along this Kop On show. Brian, how about you? I mean, obviously the disappointment that Guehi didn't get over the line. But overall, have we plugged enough gaps for you?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm in dreamland. I keep pinching myself every day. I can't get over what's going on. It's nuts, And Isak has arrived. It's just, I mean, it was disappointing that Guehi didn't go through, because I got a text from my friend going, "It's done," and here we go. And I thought, well, that's just perfect. That's like this transfer window will go down in stuff of legends. So it took a tiny bit of the shine off, but I mean, I don't know what you guys think. I'm expecting maybe he might be showing up in January. But other than that, some of the the players that we've got in every position are just outstanding. So I'm over the moon.
Yeah, it's a great answer. I've already, I mean, I'm quite a malicious person, can be, in terms of when I need to take revenge, which is very rarely. But if I was Mark Guehi, I would plan it thus. I would play as well as I possibly could until the Liverpool game, where I would kick it into my goal in the first 2 minutes and walk off the pitch, take my top off to reveal "See you in Jan" with a great big Liverpool crest on it, and just walk off the pitch, and then do a Carlos Tevez, which when Tevez claimed that he had mental problems and he couldn't play football, so he went and played golf in Argentina for a few months. That's how I would play it. Do you have any plans, Brian, as to how you would deal with the situation?
It's interesting you bring that up because I just thought it was almost Shakespearean in the comedy value that the nice guy, the guy who did everything right, the guy who was decent, the guy who was like playing it. He was the only guy who didn't get his move the whole the summer. So, and then you could see a lot of pundits backpedaling when it was like good old Mark Guehi, who just didn't put a foot wrong, basically got hung out to dry. But now look, I mean, I kind of respect the manager down at Crystal Palace. You know, he's like, if you don't have a player, I go. Good for him. I mean, I think he'll show up in January. We are a bit short at the back, so I'm a little bit uneasy about that. But other than that, I mean, what can you do? We can't get greedy. We've had such an amazing summer already. You can't get everything, so we'll just have to wait a little bit longer for him. But he's definitely coming for sure.
Well, perfection doesn't exist in this universe. You know, please, if you think it does, please email me an example, koponpodcast@gmail.com. And I include carbonara in that. It's close to perfection, but we don't know. So the full list, Nigel, just to remind you, we've got Alexander Isak, Florian Wirtz, Ekitike, Kerkez, Frimpong, Mamadashvili, Leone, Pexi, and Will Wright and Freddie Woodman. There you go. It's a big, long list. I think I need a puff of my inhaler after all that. But there's some beauties in there, Nigel. How happy are you?
Yeah, I'm very happy with it. I think the last time we invested that heavily at the start of a window, or not even so much as heavily as with that kind of quality, was Gerard Houllier. I think 1999, 2000, when we bought, like, one time, I think Gary McAllister, Emil Heskey, Dietmar Hamann, and then another time, Nicky Barmby. There was a few others at that time.
Nicky Camara, one of the best names of any Liverpool player ever.
Cult hero. Mm-hmm. Scored a winning goal against West Ham the day his dad died.
Wow.
I like TT. He was very good. But the window was very good. But Julio was doing a clean out at that time. He was getting rid of a lot of dead wood that had been hanging around for a few years, and we ended up winning a load of trophies because of it, because of the players, the quality of the players. Sami Hupia, Stefan Oncho just came into my head there, and it's basically kind of Arne Slot solidifying his position as Liverpool manager, and this is his team. You know, he came in and signed one player and basically had Jurgen Klopp's team, and everyone was saying, "Oh, this is Jurgen Klopp's team that's won the title" and stuff like that, which it wasn't. Jurgen Klopp has one title, Arne Slot has one title, but now this is definitively Arne Slot's era, and long may it continue. We've signed some real quality this time. I think we've had a tough enough start. We've got 9 points out of 9. Florian Wirtz showed signs in all 3 games, but particularly in the second half on Sunday, he started getting to grips with the ball and knocking it around. And when we got the disallowed goal for the offside, that we might have got a penalty out of it, he was the one, had a lovely little turn and shot before Ekitike knocked it into the net. So seen a few signs coming from him, which was nice.
Absolutely. He appeared in my dreams last night. I woke up thinking what great form Florian Wirtz is in, and then I remembered it was just in my dream. And my dreams are often prophetic.
Fully clothed, of course.
Well, yes, exactly. Yes, he was just playing football with his clothes on, but he was absolutely he was ripping it up. He was absolutely fantastic, and my dreams are nothing if not prophetic. But in terms of looking forward, then, I mean, obviously these players, they have to gel. Wits, it's been a little bit of a rocky, not rocky, it's too harsh. It's been a little bit of a period of adjustment, can we say, Andrew, for Florian Wits since coming in. We've seen him play in 3 games. He's had the pre-season with us, but they're particularly intense oppositions in all 3 games, I think, to play against to start your career. And you would think that it's going to be a combination of like not playing as mad teams and him getting used to the pace of the Premier League. That we need to stay super optimistic about Florian Wits. Is that right, Andrew?
Yeah, absolutely. He's going to come good in the end, as we say. He's shown flashes without being consistently excellent so far. But it all has to be put into context. Anything you look at this time of the season is obviously just based on a handful of matches. And in Bournemouth, he's come up against probably the hardest running team around, or one of them. Newcastle away is always a tough game, but that was just obviously ramped up with the Isak stuff, so that was more intense than it normally would be. And Arsenal, as I said earlier, are just one of the best sides around, probably the best at stopping teams from playing. So we're sort of having to judge him on these little sort of bits we're seeing, but they're very difficult games. I mean, the cliche about no easy games in the Premier League is probably true. But you'd like to think, assuming his injury from Sunday isn't too bad, if he was injured at all or just cramp, Liverpool go to Burnley after the international break. You would imagine he's going to get a bit more space and time to play there. And suddenly we might be seeing him get a couple of assists and all looks great. But as talented as he is and as much as he costs, we have to remember he's a very young player, moving to a different country, slightly different type of football. That's going to take time. I think he's younger than Harvey Elliott, who's just left, so to be that level of player that young is obviously shows how great he is. And if it takes a little while to get going, then it will be worth it in the end. But I think a few less intense fixtures, which will come along, could do him the world of good, and hopefully we'll see. I think as well he'll probably do well in the Champions League, because that will feel more familiar to him. It wouldn't surprise me if he's a bit more effective once that gets going as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I had exactly the same thought the other day. Totally. But staying with you, Andrew, let's talk about Isak, the big poster boy of the summer, now that we've got that deal through the door. Because I was going through a couple of his stats that last season he got 23 goals from an XG of 22.36. So 23 goals was more or less bang on his XG. The season before that, 21 goals from 22 XG. So again, pretty much bang on. But those were his only 2 seasons where he's hit 20 goals in the league. Okay, he's still quite young. He's only 25. Or he's turning 26, I think, on the 21st of September. So he's almost 26. Does he have everything? Because it has a British record deal. Is he gonna be worth the money? I mean, I don't know. I'm just trying to play devil's advocate. I'm as excited as anyone, but I'm just saying, does the data back up our excitement, basically?
Yeah, I think it does. When you look at his underlying numbers over the last year, for instance, they're pretty much identical to Kylian Mbappe's. They're a little bit below Mbappe's, but we have to remember he was playing for Newcastle, who finished 5th. They had a great season. They won the cup. Fantastic for them. But they finished 5th. I think in something like December, they were in the bottom half of the table. So to be putting up those numbers for a team that didn't have a spectacular league season is just really impressive. I think any concerns I have are more with his injury records, because it hasn't been great over the years. But at the same time, sort of acknowledge that he played more and more league minutes through each of his years he had with Newcastle. And we know Arne Slot's got a great record for keeping players fit. So again, I'm not too concerned there. But if I have a concern, it's more with that side of things than his ability to put his chances away and to have great chances, because as well, Liverpool will create more than Newcastle did as well. So he'll get more opportunities. And even if he's a little bit below his XG this year, let's say, if that happens, he'll get enough chances that he should still score plenty of goals. So as long as Slot can keep him fit, I think there's every reason to be excited.
Excellent stuff. And we've got to adjust for La Liga, the stat padding nature of playing Osasuna and the likes. But yeah, no, great stuff there. I did have a goal map from Squawka, which showed his Premier League goal map. This was posted yesterday as we're recording this on Squawker, the Twitter account, or x.com. And there were 228 shots attempted in total by Isak, 228 shots and 54 goals scored. I'm no mathematician, but that's roughly 1 goal for every 4 shots. I tried to find a comparison, and I found Darwin Núñez in just the 23-24 season, where he scored 11 goals. He scored those 11 goals from 108 shots, 108 shots and 11 goals. So it's roughly 1 goal for every 10 shots for Darwin 2 seasons ago, compared to his entire Premier League career, 1 goal for every 4 shots for Isak. If he can repeat that, Brian, then he should get a hat-trick a game for Liverpool, shouldn't he?
Yeah, look, put him into this team with those players that we mentioned, and it's like, just sit back and enjoy. And the fact that he's so young and we've got him on a 6-year contract, I think we're all giddy to see what he's going to look like when he's being fed the ball by Salah, Wirtz, and then the rest of your team. He's a smart player. He's the one player that I did not like to see on the team sheet when we were playing any team. You see him, you think that's the player that could beat us. He has that moment of magic, and he's world class. He's box office. We have another box office star. It's not just Salah now. There's multiple faces there. And he just looks like a natural finisher. Well, he is a natural finisher. He doesn't look like a natural finisher. This is the natural, as he says himself, this is his natural step. He's chosen us, and we're all living in dreamland. I remember, I was just thinking about this, speaking about Mbappe. You remember we were all like, it's happening. Mbappe, he's coming. And people are going, he's not coming. We're not spending that money. Liverpool doesn't spend that kind of money. And now we do. It's like we're living in a new world. It's like we've got all the Infinity Stones and we're coming for everything this season. So, I can't wait. It's just a shame that it's the international break, because I'm just literally counting down the days till I see him in a Liverpool shirt. It's going to be amazing. What a reception he's going to get as well. I think, are we playing home or away at Burnley? I think away at Burnley.
No, check it out. We're playing away to Burnley, but then his first home match is against Everton. Exactly. That was my reaction.
Nice, easy one to ease him into the team.
Excellent stuff. Yeah. I mean, I will double check that, but I think that's it. I think that's the case. Nigel's nodding. Yeah, it is the case. So yeah, Nigel, I mean, Isak, how excited are you on a scale of 1 to 54?
I'm getting the chorus of starlings here beside me.
Oh, wonderful. They're obviously excited to talk about Isak as well. What do you think, starlings?
If you can see them or not.
I won't be able to see them on the camera, unfortunately.
No.
But
anyway,
are they? What do they call it? Murmuring? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
A murmuration? Are they murmurationing?
Yeah. Murmuration, yeah. Fantastic. Better than crowed. Yeah. Anyway, absolutely thrilled with Alexander Isak finally being a Red. It was a long, protracted, drawn-out affair, and the fact that we've got him, like the lads were saying, that Liverpool don't spend money. You remember back in the day when Man United were winning titles, and they signed Andy Cole and Dwight York, and kind of kicked on to more success. I'm hoping this is what is going to happen here, because we've made some really, really good signings, some really brilliant players when we're at the top of the tree, so to speak. And I think we can only get better at the moment once our players settle down, and hopefully no injuries in the international break. Sweden are playing Friday night, by the way. I think they're playing Slovenia or Slovakia. It's one or the other on Friday evening, so it might be on somewhere. We can get a look, because I'm sure he'll play. The international break might not be a bad thing, because at least he'll get some minutes in his legs and may come back a little bit more match ready, match fit to us, and maybe come on as a sub against Burnley, because I don't think I'd throw him straight in. He has to kind of earn his way in, I think. Good as he is, Ekitike has done well enough to hold his spot at the moment, I think. And I hope that's the way it'll go, and then go from there, and you can fight for the short now, lads. One in possession holds on to us, and the other fella's breathing down your neck. So that's what I hope.
No, yeah, great answer. Yeah, I think that's going to be the case, isn't it? But let's talk about the striker that came in the summer as well, who's not Isak, who also sets the pulse racing. There you go, there's the expression. Found it from somewhere. Sets the pulse racing, and that's Will Wright. No, Ekitike, of course. Andrew, it seems like a signing straight from the stat book, because he topped so many metrics for under 23 strikers. But now we've seen him, and we know he's got tricks, he's got flicks. He modelled his game on Neymar and Benzema, and you can see both of those. But he's also got a heart. That's what I loved about the Arsenal performance. It's a very difficult game to play in for any number 9, if it was Isak or Ekitike or whatever. But he showed fight and determination, and tracked back with gusto and vim. And I freaking love the guy. I actually met one of his best friends yesterday, oddly, who I hope to get on Kop On podcast, because I'd love to get a sort of inside track from his journey. This is one of his friends from when he was at Arse in France, the capital of the Champagne country. But he plays sort of champagne football in the best kind of way, doesn't he? He's a brilliant young striker, and we need to ease Alexander Isak into the team, and we couldn't have bought a better sort of backup, if you want to say that, or someone who can even challenge for his place in Ekitike.
Yeah, it seems crazy that we're talking about easing Isak into the team as if Ekitike has been there for years and is the old hand who knows what he's doing. And obviously it's his first season as well. Scored in those first 3 games he played, which was great. Didn't get much joy against Arsenal, but not that many players or strikers will. So that's fair enough. But lots of reasons to be encouraged. What I really want to see from him, he was really good at getting on the end of chances from through balls, which is basically Florian Wirtz's strength. So I want to see more of that from them. I'm sure it will come. That's obviously a relationship thing. But that sort of thing will help him as well. But yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see how Liverpool approach this, because if they don't change the system, then does Isak start every game once he's up and running? Is Ekitike just going to be the substitute every time? I mean, that doesn't feel likely. Are they going to play together? That doesn't feel that likely, except perhaps when Salah's at the AFCON around sort of Christmas, January time. So there's a lot of questions to answer surrounding this. But yeah, you can only be encouraged by what Ekitike has done so far, not just the goals, but his all-round play, as you say, just sort of like putting the hard yards in. So yeah, lots to be excited about there. And as much as we're all delighted about Isak, shouldn't forget that it's another great signing.
But on the through ball thing, Andrew, staying with you, I mean, it is a key feature of his game, but the way that Liverpool set up to sort of dominate the ball and always be sort of, our entire team is camped in the opposition's half. If it's going well for Liverpool, we can adapt to games and game situations, of course, but like automatically he's going to have far fewer opportunities to run onto any through balls, because the opposition will be back like Arsenal, and there's not going to be that space. But from what you've seen and from what you know from the stats, is he someone, when there isn't much space, can thrive?
That's probably harder to answer with the sort of publicly available stats that you can get on your sort of FBref or similar sort of websites. I did see a thing yesterday on Sky about the amount of space that players have when they receive the ball, because Victor Gyökeres has basically had the least by a long way so far. Again, small samples in this early season, but he's had so little space, and of course he's going to be used to playing in a lot of space in Portugal, with most teams in that division rated as like lower than championship standards. So he's going to get a sort of sharp introduction to that. But I think 5th on the list was Ekitike, so it's not like he's getting loads of space at the moment. I think you're right in what you say. It's not like there aren't always lots of through ball opportunities for Liverpool. I think especially at Anfield, because of how teams generally play there. So it may not be something that we see all the time, but it looks like he's capable of finding that space, because with those statistics, you say, well, is Gyökeres being really closely marked, or is he just not very good at finding space? I haven't seen him enough to comment, but I guess we're going to find that out over the rest of this season. But I think from what we've seen, Ekitike could certainly find space. It's up to him what he then does with it, of course. But I think you're probably right that there may not be too many through ball opportunities, at least at home. But if you can get on the end of them, then I think he's very capable of putting them away, which is the main thing.
I just love watching him. I love watching him. And we've spoken about Ekitike with Nigel and Brian previously on Kop On. We're going to skip it for now because we've got too much to talk about. But I do want to talk about the next signing on the list in terms of price was Milos Kerkez. And I want to talk about Kerkez in relation to move on to talking about the Arsenal game, because he signed for £40 million from Bournemouth, makes him the most expensive fullback that Liverpool have ever bought. And first couple of games, weren't sure. We were sure to give him time, of course we were, but he wasn't 100% convincing, you could say. Although I thought he did well in both games, which are very different games, challenging in different ways. But then against Arsenal, he was absolutely fantastic, Brian. I thought he was brilliant. He won 7 out of 9 duels against a very het up, very worked up, very fired up Madueke. Am I getting his name right? Noni Madueke from Arsenal. And you could also tell that Arsenal, because they play the dirty game, they've got what's called the dark arts, but it's more like, I don't know, I wouldn't call it art. I'd call it dark dot to dot or something, because it's all very obvious when Arsenal's concerned. But you could see that Madueke had been told to put pressure on Kerkez to try and wind him up, because Kerkez had shown a bit of rashness in the first couple of games that they were going to try and get him sent off, basically. He didn't rise to any of that bait, Brian. He was mentally switched on. He stayed cool as a cube. He fought for the ball time and time again, and he emerged as one of the best players on the pitch. Obviously, Dom was the best, but he was sensational, Brian, and that's so encouraging going forward.
Yeah. I mean, I felt a bit sorry for him, actually, because I think he's a victim of the fact that Robbo is in the wings, who's much beloved by the Anfield faithful. Big part of us like, just give Robbo a go. Like, maybe we can get a few more games out of Robbo and ease him into it. And then also, I've seen people out there. People are very kind of say what you see. They don't really put much thought into the analysis of what's going on. They don't give him any credit. The fact that he's a new player, he's settling into a new system, playing in a different way. I've read some people say he's not fast enough. The boy's rapid. There's an element of like, maybe he's been told to play like that. Maybe he's been told to positionally play in that role whilst we figure things out. But against Arsenal, he was amazing, and he had so many eyes. We were all watching him very closely, right? Because he's had a couple of shaky starts, and as you guys were saying, like, people forget, with everything that's going on in the summer at Liverpool, with the tragic loss of Diogo and buying in all these new players and the pressure of a new defending the title, it's a lot to take on. And I think he's been all right in those first couple of games. But yesterday was his coming out party, because it was so solid. He didn't give him a sniff the entire game. So solid. And Arsenal were trying to wind up everybody right on the pitch, and him included. And you're right, he didn't rise to it. I mean, he'll just get better and better. He's obviously pure quality. And I think it was a real. If Dom didn't have such a great game, people would have been talking about him, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's so young. He's got lots of time. He's still 21 years old. He's got lots of time to improve. And I remember when Man United signed Luke Shaw, retrospect, big mistake. And they said, we've got the left backs sewn up for the next 10 years. They immediately said that. It's too early for Kerkez, but the signs are there that he can develop into a truly world-class performer. So he had 82.8% passing accuracy from 29 passes. He didn't manage a cross in the game. He tried 3 long balls, none of which were accurate. But defensively were the big stats. 3 tackles, one of which was it was the last man tackle. 5 clearances and 1 blocked shot. It was a brilliant performance from Milos Kerkez. And another player, Nigel, who was maligned was Konaté. And Konaté, the way he came back and put in actually a flawless performance in terms of passing. He had 44 passes, and okay, he wasn't trying too much that was exciting, although he did have 2 long balls. He had 100% passing accuracy. That's the greatest comeback since Elvis in 1969. That was unbelievable, Nigel.
Yeah, fantastic. Just to say to you that another advantage that Kerkez is going to have over Luke Shaw is he didn't come back to pre-season training 3 stone overweight.
Well, yes, doesn't eat as many hot dogs.
Yeah, but yeah, Ibu, fantastic. What a performance! I saw some of the Arsenal fans saying that Gyökeres got the better of the duels with Konaté. He did not. He most certainly did not. I'm not sure he even won one, to be perfectly honest with you. Ibu was sensationally good. I just hope he keeps going at that rate. I hope it was only cramp he had. But I'm sure Gyökeres went around into the dressing room afterwards and shook hands with him and make sure he could see the front of him, because all he saw for the 90 minutes or however long Konaté was on was the back. And he kept going past him time and time again. Fantastic. It was like the old Ibu again. Brilliant.
Totally. Normally we go through highlights of the match, but there weren't any highlights. There was just one, which was the free kick goal from Szoboszlai. Andrew Szoboszlai at right back. I mean, it's been a long time since we celebrated a free kick goal from a right back, but that was absolutely extraordinary performance and goal. Can you see him staying there? I mean, I don't know. Go wherever you want with Szoboszlai, but talk to me about big, beautiful Dom.
I think it's hard to see him staying there when Liverpool have brought Frimpong and obviously have Conor Bradley, albeit he has his injury problems. But at the same time, I think he has to be in the team as often as possible. How do you sort of leave him out? And clearly, Wirtz is going to have what was Szoboszlai's position last season. He's going to keep that. And as I say, I think you need to get him in the team. I'm sure people have probably seen, certainly people in the UK watching Match of the Day, the run they highlighted that Szoboszlai did, where he ran basically the length of the pitch to get into the Arsenal box to support an attack, and then it immediately broke the other way and he ran back to the Liverpool box. I don't know how long it took him, but it was basically a 200-yard run, sort of non-stop up and down the pitch. And that's just brilliant, that level of physicality. You know, when you look at the data for sort of like pressing and things like that, Florian Wirtz is elite at it, and yet he's still not as good, or didn't do as much, I should say, as Dominik Szoboszlai. So I still think there's a case to put Szoboszlai in his old position for perhaps some of the games, you know, maybe when they go to Manchester City is coming up in the next couple of months, just as an example. Whether Slot will do that, I think he will probably persist with Wirtz, because he's got to persist with him to get the most out of him. But yeah, while I don't think he'll stay at right back, I do think he's going to be playing so many games, because he's just so important to the way that Liverpool play, both going forward, sort of defending from the front in that sense, but just the energy he brings to everything. Because guys like McAllister, as good as they are, they can't cover ground the same speed, intensity, whatever you as Szoboszlai. So as long as he stays in the team, I'll be happy. Let's put it that way.
But if you're moving him back into midfield, let's say if Frimpong is back and you're playing a team that you want to attack as much as possible, I understand, put Frimpong on the right. Who are you dropping in midfield then? You can't drop Gravenberch. You can't drop McAllister, can you?
I wouldn't have thought so, but I guess this is the job for Arne Slot. I mean, I think he has said that he will rotate more than last season, which because he felt it sort of cost Liverpool in the spring. And whether you buy into that or not, certainly he did use the same players a lot. And so I think there is a need for more rotation than we saw, and having these players, you know, kind of rotating will be no bad thing. And of course, there's Curtis Jones to fit in there as well. I mean, he's, you know, probably 5th choice for what looked like 3 spots but he's been doing really well. He was great on Sunday, so he's going to be a great option in there as well. So whilst you think you can't drop Gravenberch and McAllister, I guess drop is a loaded term, but I think we are going to see more rotation than we saw last season, and it's in that way that maybe Szoboszlai will feature more in the two of the 4-2-3-1, assuming that we sort of stick with that formation.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Yeah, drop is the wrong term, isn't it? Yeah, rotation is key. But on McAllister, Brian, he looks off the pace. His first half statistics in terms of passing accuracy, McAllister completed 61% of his passes in the first half. Partly to do with Arsenal's tactics of flooding the midfield with where their players were, and give credit to Arsenal, they're a good team and they recognise McAllister is a danger maybe, and they just swamped him. But you'd want him to do better. By the time he'd been taken off in the second half, 61% had turned into 84%. So his second half, the 15 minutes that he played in the second half, he must have had around about 100% passing accuracy. So I reckon they said something to him at half time, because he looked off it in that first half completely. But he's coming back to form. And when he gets into form, he's a hell of a player. But was that the key for you against Arsenal? The reason why it didn't work, especially in the first half, was like the link between McAllister and Wirtz, especially whose first half passing was down at, I think, 71%. He ended the game with 71.4%. I'll double check his first half. Florian Wirtz, just bear with me 1 second. Florian Wirtz in the first half had 62.5%. I'm getting them confused. Excuse me. Alexis McAllister in the first half had 71.4%. Wirtz in the first half had 62.5%. But for central midfielders, to give you a ballpark figure, in a really good performance from a central midfielder, even the ones who take risks, you're looking at a minimum of like 77%, and normally a good performance around about 85%. So 62% for Florian Wirtz, which rose to 71% in the second half. And Alexis McAllister, 71.4% in the first half, rising to 84%, whatever. But in the second half, I think that was the key in the match. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on that midfield thing? How we can do better? We need more bodies in midfield. Ekitike can drop deep to give more of an option. I don't know. Talk to me about that.
I just think, yeah. I mean, I think McAllister is obviously coming back from injury, and he is definitely a little bit off the pace. He's not up to his usual standards, and then also he's playing with Wirtz, who I watched him quite closely throughout the game, and Wirtz is like floating in all the pockets of space all over the place. And sometimes I thought, and you could write what I know about football on the back of a matchstick box, but I thought he was trying a little bit too hard, perhaps. I think that 10 position is quite. It definitely relies on the rest of your teammates knowing what everybody's doing. It's almost like there's a kind of rhythm to it. It's almost better when you're playing that role and you're walking from space to space rather than running from one side of the pitch to the other side of the pitch. He was so very keen to get on the ball. And so if you put the two of those two together, that's like 2 out of 3 midfield players that are not quite, gelling. And I think they will. And then obviously Arsenal are kind of flooding that area as well. So I think it'll come. And in the second half, obviously, we made some adjustments. And tactically, I think we were better than Arsenal, and it showed. But I just think he's a little bit off the pace. There was a lot of good movement, good passages of play, and then the final ball was not there. Right, it was off. But I think that will come when he's not match fit at the moment. And wow, what 3 difficult games to start the season off with. It doesn't get like Bournemouth. That's a really difficult game because everybody expects us to beat them, and most people don't realize just how good that team are. So there's a lot of pressure there with a new team. And then, coming off the back of that, Charity Shield loss, which obviously is not important, but what the media are like, they're going to jump on that and maybe there's cracks there. Maybe it's not going to work. And then straight to Newcastle, the Isak derby, and everything that was, and then coming out with Arsenal, who are like the best team in the league outside of us. So, I think it's, hopefully, but it doesn't get any easier, right? I think after Burnley, we got Everton and one more difficult game as well before it perhaps eases up a little
We
bit.
got Atletico Madrid in the Champions League between Burnley and Everton.
Right.
And then after that, we've got Crystal Palace on the 27th of September, which will be when Guehi scores his own goal and walks off the pitch.
Yes.
So, and then after Crystal Palace, we've got Galatasaray away. A nice relaxing trip to Istanbul.
Nice peaceful place to go visit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Very.
I was going to ask you a question, or the guys a
Mhm.
question. I was thinking I think there's going to see a lot more players move around positions this season. Not just there's going to be rotation in players, but there'll also be players playing in different positions a lot. And I'm wondering if that left wing will be a kind of a solution to some of these problems that we're talking about, because I'm with Andrew. I mean, I think Dom just has to play. If we have to put him in goal, he has to play, find a spot for him, and that's a problem, right? Because if McAllister finds his form, which he will, then where do you play Dom? Who do you drop? Because can you really drop Gravenberch? I don't think you can, right? Because he plays that role so well. So I'm just wondering if maybe Wirtz goes over to the left occasionally,
It could definitely happen. Yeah. But then Gakpo drops out. But I mean, no player can play all of the games, though. I mean, if Liverpool do well in all four competitions, it's going to be 60 games, isn't it? Or 64, I think it is the number.
And you need a pool of players. You don't just need a starting 11. You need good players outside the starting level as well. Yeah, for sure.
And, no, it's a good point, and I think you're right. And we've certainly got players who are adaptable. McAllister can play in several positions in midfield. Szoboszlai can play anywhere, including in goal, as you rightly say. And so can Wirtz. Gakpo can probably play centre forward again if needed. Ekitike, he's a number 9, but he has played on the left, and he could do that. But it's all, I don't know. Yeah, I think we need that adaptability, flexibility. I totally agree. Those games that are coming up, Nigel, are very exciting, aren't they? But I don't know. In terms of Arsenal and the start, 9 points from those first 3 fixtures. Those are 9 big, fat, beautiful, gorgeous, bombastic points, aren't they? I mean, Liverpool are supposed to have the hardest of the hardest first 10 fixtures of any team in the Premier League. What a start to win the first 3, Nigel. It's been beautiful.
Been fantastic. Just like to add to the points that the lads were making there, with our tactics and players like dropping into spaces and stuff like that. I thought what made a bit of a difference and what made us more dangerous than Arsenal were, Madueke was trying to do it for them, and Kerkez did a very good job on him. Was Andrew mentioned earlier on Szoboszlai's run and then running back. So we cannot leave Szoboszlai out of that team because he's the engine, up and down. He's fantastic. But if you look at the creation of the chance for the free kick, Curtis Jones picks up the ball and runs. Arsenal were waiting before for us to have the ball and a player to drop off and try and turn into them and look for a pass. But when we actually started running at them, we were running past them. Like they're set up to stop us running into spaces. The guy from the Spanish mountains, what's his name?
Zubimendi.
Zubimendi. I couldn't remember, but he's not the quickest in the world. But he's all right when he's sitting in and just making tackles for a player coming looking short with his back to goal. But Curtis Jones picked up the ball and ran into his small bit of space and created a massive space. That was really important. I think that's where we're better than anybody else. When we have the ball and we're pushing forward, we've got so many guys that can do that. And I do like what Brian said about the possibility of Wirtz drifting, because I don't think we can leave out Gravenberch. I definitely don't think we can leave out Szoboszlai. And why would you leave out a World Cup winner when he's fully fit? So I think that left side could be very important, and maybe a little bit of interaction between Ekitike going out there or Wirtz going out there, and even Isak. I saw Isak scoring a goal on the highlights last night for Sweden when he cut in from the left hand side and curled the ball into the top corner as well. So we've got a lot of kind of versatility in our team. So I think that's very, very important. Versatility and adaptability and willingness to run for your teammates. I think that running with the ball could be very, very important to create spaces in behind and release. So like a Mo Salah or Ekitike or Isak or Wirtz in behind fullbacks, where we created so many goals over the years. Bobby Firmino dropping off and creating the space with a flick for Mo or Sadio Mane. It might not be to that effect, but I think it could be very important for us being able to do that.
That's a great point. Yeah, really, really, really good stuff. And it's also damned optimistic, isn't it, from all of us? And this is great stuff. That we've got so many different facets to our game. The only sad thing, as has been mentioned, is that we've got to wait a couple of weeks for the next match. That's the only thing we have to lament, which as a football team means you're in a pretty rosy place. Looking around the grounds, though, Andrew, around the league, Chelsea have had a good start. Arsenal, despite losing to us, 15% of people on a YouTube channel I just watched, I can't remember which one, I think it was the Football Terrace, 15% of people said that Arsenal won the transfer window on their poll, compared to 71% who said Liverpool. But 15% are still deluded enough to suggest it's Arsenal, or are they deluded? Arsenal did very well, but let's not whittle it down into oversimplistic terms like who won the transfer window. That's a load of old gubbins, if you ask me, anyway. But looking around the Premier League, I mean, Arsenal is second, and then we've got Tottenham not far behind, Arsenal not far behind. Who else is there in and around us? Everton, oddly. Is anyone? Who's causing you the most concern? Who are you? Who are you taking that double take look at and sort of recoiling a bit? Is anyone making you recoil, Andrew?
I realise this is not exactly what you're asking, but if anything worries me, it's slightly Liverpool, just purely from the point of view of how they've not created that many chances, certainly in the last two games, and how they've looked susceptible to counter-attacks with Bournemouth and set pieces with Newcastle. I'm not saying that because because I think they're going to sort of fall away and finish eighth or whatever. But it's just that thing of like, if Liverpool can play to their potential, I don't think there's anybody who's as good, which is not to say that they're definitely going to win the league, but I'm confident that they can, because they've just got so much talent going forward. And if they just, tighten up a few bits here and there in the other direction, then they're going to be very, very difficult to beat, because they look capable of scoring 2 or 3 goals against all but the very best teams they're going to come up against. So in a funny way, it's almost on Liverpool to prove that they are champions, that they've invested this money well, and to go out and just basically win the league. They were so much better than everyone else last season. Well, I think Arsenal, have invested pretty well. Are they going to be that much better, really? I mean, that someone like Gyökeres can put chances away, but is he going to help them create that many more chances? That's been their issue. That was their issue last season. We obviously saw it at Anfield. They didn't create a lot at Old Trafford either. They won there from a corner. They've scored 6 goals so far. It's 3 corners and a penalty in amongst that. So they've got 2 open play goals. I mean, that's what Liverpool have so far got from Chiesa and Ngamoa, who must have played about 20 minutes between them, and one's hardly had a look in and one's still at school. So, that's what I mean, where I think it's on Liverpool basically, and you have to respect the other teams. But we've already seen Manchester City lose 2 games, and 2 games, all right, they do usually lose to Tottenham, but defeat at Brighton, particularly having taken the lead, was a bit of a surprise. So all of a sudden they're 6 points behind, and then it becomes hard to keep pace, even if it's not a 90-point sort of winning total. If it is, let's say 85 again, is that what Liverpool got? 84 last season, something like that. They're already dropped 6 points from being able to do that. So the pressure soon mounts on them. I think pressure is on Arsenal because they keep coming close without actually doing it. So whilst you must respect them, I'm not sure there's anyone that massively, massively worries me. It's just on Liverpool to go out and get it done.
Great answer. But in terms of creativity with Arsenal, 2 questions really. Number one, Eberechi Eze, wonderful player. I'm sure you'll agree. That's question 1. That's it. There's no question mark. It's just Eze. And question 2, it comes down to Arteta, doesn't it? Because the way he sets up the team with, 4 centre-backs playing in the back 4 and 3 defensive midfielders in front of them, it's a bit like it's down to him to let them off the leash, these wonderful attacking talents. And if you look at his record, he inherited. I think he gets too much credit for taking Arsenal up to second 3 times in a row, because he inherited Saka, Martinelli. He got Havertz as a youngish player who's incredibly talented. Let's not forget, even though no one's really brought it out of him. And these players, Odegaard as well, these players, they've either like stagnated a bit. I don't think Saka's an excellent player, but he was always going to be an excellent player. It doesn't matter who the manager was. I think it's down to Arteta. I think Arteta doesn't know how to get the best out of attacking players or an attacking system. And this is why Arsenal don't worry me that much. So is Eze going to make a difference? And is Arteta going to just relax a bit? You know, he's got a dog called Win. Go out with the dog. Have a relax. Give him a little stroke. You know, it's very, very good for the dog and the human to pet your dog for a little while. Just relax, Arteta. Let them do their stuff. These people are geniuses. I don't know. What do you reckon, Andrew?
Yeah, I think Eze will certainly help them. I think Martinelli has shown in flashes that he's potentially a good player, but he's just not very consistent with it. I can understand why he played on Sunday, for instance, because obviously Eze has only just joined, and Martinelli has had joy against Liverpool in the past, but he barely got into the game at all from memory. I mean, he had one opportunity to sort of dribble into the penalty area, and instead he sort of turned back and he passed it back. But that's the sort of Arsenal mentality. That's what you were just sort of talking about. And I suppose the difficulty is that if they win 1-0 thanks to a goal from a corner or a free kick, then Arteta maybe gets heralded as a genius. It's, as ever, the scoreline determines so much about how we sort of look at these things. But I think it is difficult. The thing with Arsenal is you're just leaving a lot to chance. You can make it a low scoring, a low chance sort of game, but there will still be chances. There is still a possibility that someone's going to lash in a free kick from 35 yards, and you can't really, expect that to happen, and then it will happen. So I think it can be a bit simplistic to say, we've got to, let them just sort of cut loose and get on with it, because his way of doing things has got Arsenal second 3 years in a row, and we mustn't, underestimate that. I mean, if you look at that period as a whole, I'm pretty sure they've got more points than any other club. And that's a reasonable achievement. That's a pretty good going. Doing that means more, I think, than maybe winning the League Cup. As much as we all love trophies, that's a serious achievement to be that consistent over a 3-year period. So you can understand why he kind of sticks with his way of doing things, because broadly speaking, it works. But I do think it just leaves it up to chance, because if they don't score from a corner at Old Trafford, they perhaps only get a point there, and we saw on Sunday what happened. So I don't know. I don't think he's going to change. It's all well people saying, he should do this, he should do that. I don't think he's going to. But I think that's only good news for Liverpool, to be honest.
But I don't think it's that much of an achievement. I don't know where you stand on this, Brian. I don't think it's that much of an achievement of finishing second all those times, because, like I say, the squad he inherited, he also had a young Gabriel, excellent defender, and the players they bought and the money they've spent. I mean, it's his first. Yeah. It's his first job. You've got to defer to the Arsenal fans on this. I was speaking a long time ago to a YouTuber who's sadly no longer with us. Wonderfully inspirational guy, Stephen Featley, his name was. For all kinds of problems with his liver all of his life. Sadly passed away in his 20s, and I used to be on his channel quite a lot, talking about Arsenal. And this was about 6 years ago, whatever. And he was like, Arteta's not the man. Nobody sees it. When everybody was like lauding Arteta for taking Arsenal from the Emery debacle into this new force and winning the FA Cup. And he was like, no. He's not got the right attitude. And you can sort of see it. And lots of other Arsenal fans say the same thing. You can sort of see it in how the team, like Andrew was saying, their players, they don't take any risk whatsoever. And he's not someone he doesn't seem to have the imagination and the forward thinking that you need to win, to really win stuff. I don't think it's that big an achievement, because he spent so much more than anyone else in terms of net spend, I think, apart from Manchester United perhaps. And he inherited a great team, and they haven't really improved as much as they should have. Am I being harsh? I don't know. What do you reckon, Brian?
As much as it pains me to say this, I think you are being a little bit harsh on him. I mean, I remember when he took over, Arsenal was a shit show. You know, you'd flip a coin. What performance are you going to get out of them week in, week out? They were a bit of a joke, really, as a footballing power in terms of a team, and a sad reflection on what they used to be. And you got to give him credit. I think he has turned them into a Champions League football team, right? And they are top 4 team, clearly top 2 team. But that last 2%, what makes a team a good team and a championship winning team, it's the fine margins, you know, and that's where people like Klopp and Pep and these mercurial managers, they can take these brilliant players and just get an extra 1% or 2% out of them. And really, because like most of these players, when you get to that level, they can run themselves. You know, there's a reason why they're playing for the top teams. And he's got shades of Brendan Rodgers about him for me. You know, he's very cheesy. I mean, I thank God I thank the Lord that he's a gift. You know, every time we played him each year, I look at that clip where he gets the speakers out and he's like, we're in Anfield now, boys. It begins now. You know, I mean, I feel a bit sorry for him because he's up against it. He's up against Pep. Now he's up against. Why is our manager's name gone right out of my head? Arne. But I think everybody's seeing the same thing now. And one thing I would say about Arsenal this particular campaign this season is that the level of scrutiny that they're under now is just through the roof, because you know the press are just waiting with bated breath. And that fan base are rabid, right? They're the most unstable fan base out there, you know. So at the moment they're getting away with it, but there was definitely murmurs. There was sections starting to turn, and the things that we've been talking about, you can hear it from the Arsenal fan base as well. It's like, is he the guy? I mean, I personally think he's the guy to take them where they are to now, but he's not the guy to take them on to the next step. He's not going to get over the line. He's not going to win anything, I don't think. And that's not to give him his credit, because he deserves a lot of credit. I think he's turned them into a very a team worthy of respect. And I think Kara said it on the overlap recently, is that he just reminds you of Benitez's team. Just very, you know, just a difficult, boring team to play against that can hurt you on set pieces. You know, and really, is that what you want? You know, when you're a football fan and you're following one of the best clubs in the world, you know, you want to be entertained, and I don't think that's what he's doing there. So, I mean, I think he's going to get the full season, but I don't think he'll be there next year. And if he has a string of bad results, and that means two losses back to back, the amount of pressure that guy's going to be under is going to be immense from all corners, because then all of the other fan base can smell blood already in the water. So everybody will be turning it up. So, which will be sad. That will make me unhappy to see that. But you know, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
But that's the thing. I mean, it's a very good point, and that's why he's defensive, right? Because of that pressure, because of that thing. It's like, well, we can't lose. We're going to set up not to lose and win the game with the set pieces. We're bigger and stronger, and all that stuff. It sort of makes sense if you're dull. He spent $1 billion to get them playing like Stoke City, Brian. Stoke City, you know,
Wow.
£1 billion.
I'm not going to defend Arteta. That's not going to happen. But yeah, no, I hear you. Yeah, I mean, he's not setting the world on fire. His teams won't be cherished in 20, 30 years time. We won't be all going back. Oh, do you remember that Arteta team, the one that was so beautiful and flowing? No one's going to say that, right? I mean, he would ruin Henry. If Henry was around, he would absolutely ruin him.
Absolutely.
He'd probably be a holding midfielder.
It's really. But I mean, what can you do with £1 billion? You could build like a new sort of high-speed rail link. You could do all kinds of things. You could build about 3 hospitals for that. But anyway, let's not get into the socioeconomic weirdness in which we live. Nigel, around the grounds, Arsenal, maybe we've spoken enough about them, but their next match is against Nottingham Forest. Then they're playing Athletic Bilbao away in the Champions League, and then they've got Man City at home. Pep Guardiola. So I saw a cartoon for, I think it was BR Football earlier, where they had Pep Guardiola sitting in front of his computer, and he Googled the word ballers, and Shirky and Reinders and whoever else they bought turned up, and he's like, okay, I'll buy all three of those. There doesn't seem to be much of a plan at City. They just, I mean, they bought Donnarumma now. Did that get through the line? I think it went over the line. So is that, but like, he can't kick the ball. He can't really play out from the back all that well, can he? I don't know. Maybe that's just his reputation. I'll have to look up to see if the stats back that up. But Man City, they're already 6 points behind us. Speaking of fragile confidence that Arsenal have, City have a lot of it. What do you think about Man City this season? Are they going to come back, bounce back, or is it over for Pep?
Too many good players to not make some kind of a comeback, but I just think he lost De Bruyne, and the thing about De Bruyne was wonderful player. His legs might have been slightly gone, and these guys he's brought in are very, very good, but they're not leaders like De Bruyne was. They're missing leaders, I think, more than anything. You've got really, really good players, but and good with the ball and stuff like that, but you're on about our lads cutting through spaces. As good as Cherky and Reinders or any of these guys might be, they're not De Bruyne. They're missing Gundogan in the middle of the field. They're missing, I think their centre halves aren't great. I think Vardiol is still injured, I think. But I don't think they've ever adequately replaced Vincent Kompany. And like, the new guys that they're after bringing in seem to be kind of all right. But I don't know, I just don't know what the mentality is fully there. I think they may have dropped the level, and they're having trouble. They will have trouble, I think, finding it back again without De Bruyne. I think he was that important to them that he drove the team along. And as good as some of these new guys are, they're not him.
Well, I hope you're right. Shirky is someone I really rate, as I've mentioned here before. Because I followed him since he was about 16, because I heard so much about him here in France, and he's really coming into his own. But that injury was terrible timing. So yeah, I mean, long may it continue. Of course, that wonderful moment on the weekend, James Milner scoring a penalty and doing the Jota celebration. They were very close, of course, Diogo Jota and James Milner, and Milner changed his number to 20, and it was quite beautiful that he scored that goal to become the second oldest Premier League scorer of all time, and he's also the second youngest Premier League goal scorer of all time, which is a stat I got from the Guardian Football Weekly, and that's very impressive. So all respect to James Milner for that. Just another thing that I wanted to talk about today, the last thing on my list, although I'm very happy to talk about anything you want to talk about, Andrew, is the departure of Harvey Elliott. He put on Instagram a very long and heartfelt and lovely message full of respect for Liverpool, and I've got it here. Harvey Elliott said, "When I joined Liverpool in 2019, it was a dream come true for me and my family. As a young child, I travelled the world supporting the team as a fan, and words will never be able to explain the feeling I had when I pulled on that famous red shirt for the first time as a player. Over the course of the last 6 years, I've experienced so much and grown from a young 16-year-old boy into a man during my time at the club." You're not a man, Harvey. You're still only 22. Sorry. Growing up, I could never have imagined that I'd go on to play 150 games for my boyhood team, winning 7 major trophies and culminating in being part of the squad to have won the Premier League last season with such a special group. And there's a few more paragraphs, so I do suggest that you read that. I'm not going to read the entire thing if you haven't read it already. But Harvey, what a guy, Andrew. But unfortunately, it just didn't work out. His compulsory sale clause kicks in after 10 games, apparently. So it does appear that he's gone, although we do have a buyback. Give me your thoughts on Harvey leaving the club, Andrew.
It's sad in a way because, as we know, he's a fan and he's never really let the team down. But I think it makes sense. We saw last season that he barely started a game of any significance. I think he didn't start in the league, I'm right in saying, until after the title had been won. So there clearly wasn't a place for him in slot side. The acquisition of Wirtz only makes that even less likely. So I think it is best for all concerned. I think we're seeing that Slot doesn't quite have the if sentimentality is not too strong a word that Klopp had. Klopp loved his boys, loved them all, wanted them all to play, that sort of thing. Slot seems far more like, no, I want you, I don't want you, you know, you can go. And that's the sort of situation with Harvey. I think, you know, I assume most fans would have been happy for him to stay as an option off the bench. We've seen him contribute plenty as a substitute in the past, but even though he's not yet a man, as you say, he's still got to be playing football more regularly than, you know, a few starts a season. So I think it's an interesting move for him because Aston Villa look like they're in a slightly weird place at the moment. I don't think they've scored a goal yet this season. I'm sure they'll improve, but seems to be a bit of uncertainty around the club. But at least he's playing at a decent level for a team that's going to be competing for a European spot. And yeah, it'll be interesting, I guess, to see how he copes with playing, we assume, every week, more or less. But yeah, sort of kind of sad in the fan side of me to see him go, but there looked very little path for him into the first team. So I think it's best for all concerned.
Yeah, I would agree with that entirely. Brian, have you got a favourite Harvey Elliott moment? Does anything stand out, or is it just the general vibe from that young guy? It was a credit to himself and his family.
Yeah, it's just the fact that he was one of us, you know. It was like, you know, the fact that he was walking out onto the pitch and he cherished every moment of it, you know. And I think he there was a couple of moments where he wound up the opposition, which I quite liked. There's a little bit of, I like a player that's got a bit of edge to him, and he had that in him. And yeah, like as Andrew said, like it's kind of sad to see him go because he didn't really put a foot wrong. He always performed. There's a great player there, for sure. It just, yeah, as he was saying, it's a difficult route for him into the team. I was really happy to see there was a buyback clause there. Not that I expect us to activate it, because that's kind of like, you know, we're living in, you know, what a dream. He goes play Aston Villa for 2 years, turns into a worldie, and comes back to us. But I mean, I think Villa have signed another player on loan for a season. I think another quite a good player. So
they got Lindelof on a free transfer and Sancho.
That's right. Yeah.
I asked an Aston Villa friend of mine last night, "Are you trying to get relegated?" And we're signing those two, but then Harvey Elliott is a good signing. So
yeah, the manager's brilliant, right? So I think he'll do well there, you know, and good luck to him, you know. But sometimes it's just, you know, it's a harsh game, and when you're fighting at the right at the top, and particularly with a manager that's less about the compassionate side of things or the emotional side of things, I think it's a good move for everybody.
Yeah, great stuff. Yeah, Nigel, you're nodding along. You agree with those sentiments?
Certainly do, yeah. Just for moments, I remember he got a really bad injury and came back. First game back, I think it was, scored his first goal for the club against Cardiff, I think it was, with a nice volley, I think in the FA Cup or something like that, and it was a great moment for him. The goal against PSG last year, after Ali's wondrous performance, 9 saves. His first European goal, I think, was against Rangers when Mo was holding him and it went to VAR, and Mo was kind of holding on to him to see was it going to be allowed on VAR, and it was brilliant. He was great heart. Like he's like Brian said as well there, he's one of us. He was one of our lads who went out onto the field and did it for us. Just, he was never going to get games. Like as Andrew said, the Slot has the same amount of sentimentality as he has hairs on his head. There just isn't any. There was just no sentimentality with him at all. He was never going to get games. Once we bought Wirtz, and once, like Dominic Szoboszlai is playing right back at the moment. He's probably been our best player this season. He has been our best player this season, and he's playing out of position. And he could play where Harvey played. Wirtz can play there. We've got 3 or 4 more. Curtis Jones, those guys. So I think it's, unfortunately with Harvey, it's lack of pace. That was the issue for me with Harvey. He lacked pace. Excellent player, brilliant technical player. Said to my friend last night, he needs to play in a 10 where he doesn't have to go running around like chasing after the ball. you play to his strengths, and you've got a brilliant player. And unfortunately, it just didn't work out for him.
Yeah, hopefully Villa will bring the best out of him, because we're all going to be rooting for him, aren't we? Well, thank you everybody for joining me. Of course, the dear, sweet and cherished listener, whoever you are, wherever you are across this wild planet upon which we live. Thank you for joining us. And Andrew, thanks for being our guest today. Lovely to speak with you again. AndrewBeasleyFootball.com. What have you got going on at the moment, Andrew?
Well, I normally do a weekly match review, so the most recent thing on there is a look at the Arsenal game and how that panned out. Do a couple for paid subscribers each week. One I'm currently working on is about Isak's relationship with Jacob Murphy for Newcastle, because they linked up really well, and Murphy played on the right, which is obviously Salah's position. So just kind of looking at how they linked up and whether that will work with Salah. I'm sure it will, but just to sort of see how that all fits together is going to be the next thing on there. But yeah, if people want to check it out, that would be fantastic.
But I do heartily and highly recommend it. I've read the match review of the Arsenal game. It's absolutely brilliant stuff. It's great to have you with us. A lovely, clear-eyed perspective upon Liverpool and all the wonder, let's face it, that's going on around our club at the moment. All of the intrigue, but pizzazz and razzmatazz and marvelous stuff. Brian, are you going to spend the next couple of weeks looking at highlights of our last three matches, including Rio and Gamoa's goal and Chiesa's goal and Dominic Soboslai's free kick on endless repeat? Or are you going to be looking at Isak dribbles, skills, goals on YouTube? What's going on for you?
I'm going to put my hands behind my back and walk out into the woods, or, and just contemplate things for 2 weeks and just be away from people, be depressive and dark, and then wait for the glorious football to come back. I'm doing nothing. I'm going into a cave. They're going to freeze me, and then they're just going to defreeze me when the game starts. And normal life will resume again.
Excellent stuff. Excellent stuff. Well, enjoy the cave. Nigel, what about you? How the heck are you going to pass the time between now and Burnley?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. I'd probably watch the Swedish game on Friday night, I think, if I can get it. Yeah, I'd probably watch that. I think it's Slovakia Friday night, 7:45 or 8 o'clock, something like that. So I might watch that. Not really international football. I think it's a mess. This time of the season, 3 weeks into the season, and we get an international break. I mean, all it does is injure your players, really. But you're going to have to get a look at him anyway. Hopefully he comes back fitter with a goal or two in him, maybe. And hopefully that. But yeah, I've been watching a few bits and pieces. Opposition fans' reactions to us and their own teams. And like, you've got to remember, Arsenal barely beat a very poor Manchester United team. And Manchester United had an absolute 100% cast iron penalty not given, and like, if you're going to have to rely on scoring goals from set pieces, it can't work for a full season. It can't work for a full game nearly, because we shut them down. And, they're now 3 points more behind us because we have the capability of scoring a goal like that. Now, there's not too many people can score a goal like that, but I've seen Soboslai doing that before for Hungary. And I knew it was there. I knew it was in him. I've been waiting on for him to do it. And my God, what a strike.
It's a beautiful thing. That's all I'm going to be doing. I might invest in some kind of glasses extension that I can strap to my forehead or my glasses, just like a TV screen right in front. And I'm going to put on a loop the Soboslai free kick for the next 12 days until the Burnley match, because it was absolute beauty. I made an edit of it. I put it to Franz Liszt piano, and it deserves that. It's that level of beauty and ethereal wonder in that goal. Don't listen to Michael Owen when he blamed the goalkeeper for standing in the wrong position. Michael, you're wrong. Yet again. Thank you for listening to Kop On podcast. This has been a treat. It's been a wonder. Check out AndrewBeasleyFootball.com. Get in touch, koponpodcast@gmail.com. Thank you very much to my guests, and you'll never walk alone. We'll see you soon.